To insert a swaging tool into the copper and how to release the swaging tool once the copper pipe has been swaged, or for the vernacular, swaging may also mean just simply expanding the copper, as one can see, so that one can take one piece of copper, slide it into here, sweat it with the oxyacetylene or whatever you do it with. I'm not certain exactly. There are different ways, and people have different tricks of the trade. But generally speaking, it's oxyacetylene. But now there are several different ways. However, the swaging, which means to expand this copper, and this is not, by the way, this is not flaring. A flare is different than a swaged fitting. So the swage actually takes this size copper, expands it to this, so this size copper can go into this. So simply you start to squeeze the handle, you squeeze it to X amount. Once it starts, after the little protrusion here begins to expand and expand the copper, at this point, the handle may start to put up resistance and get to where you cannot squeeze it anymore. And if this is the case, this is very natural. So do not, in my opinion, do not try to fight this thing and keep squeezing it once the handle has stopped and the handle does not allow you to stop. That generally means you can actually go by the pipe. So if you go to, so it sounds very simple, but if you go to pull it out of the pipe, then how do you pull it out if this may be stuck in here? Because this has been swaged and this is expanded. So once the handle, again, squeeze, 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 squeeze enough times, and do it, in my opinion, very slowly, gingerly. Don't get in a big hurry trying to get ahead of yourself. Take your time, do it easy. Um, and eventually, if it's working properly, the tool's working properly, if you have the right size die for the right size copper, everything should work out. Make sure it's snugged up. This one's a little bit off because this one's already been swaged here. So just be sure. And um, let me emphasize here, when one puts this in, say this may be a 3/8 die, when you put this in this pipe, it should put up a little bit of resistance putting it in. If you put it in and it's very sloppy, or um, the the counter to that, if it's too large to go into the pipe, you may not have the right size die. You may have to, and I'm not certain if die is the correct terminology. However, you may have to upsize or downsize to where when this little protrusion here goes into the pipe, this is, then you will know, and if it's somewhat fairly snug, you will know this is the correct size fitting for that. Then again, once you've squeezed, slowly and carefully, just squeeze the handle all the way in, go back out, squeeze it again, and then you will notice the handle starting to get stiff. Like, say for instance, an analogy would be bleeding brakes. How actually they're very when you start to press them, they may be soft at first and then they get hard. This handle, it may be uh, an analogy, something along those lines. Okay, the once the copper is flared, then the fitting is stuck into the copper. So question is now, how do we release this? It's very simple. Go to this handle here, push this handle in, and when one pushes this handle in and pulls back, it's that simple. Now you have a swaged fitting to where you do not have to put a coupling on here and braze on this side or braze on this side. One could take another piece of pipe here that has not been this size here, insert it into here, take the silver stick, take the oxyacetylene, and braze it in. And in my opinion, one tip would be before you do that, clean up the copper a little bit, make sure it's deburred and that sort of thing. You don't want something breaking off going downstream and getting stuck in a small orifice or a TXV or something like that. So just be sure to deburr it, in my opinion. Maybe even take a little sandpaper, but be careful on your hands because these little um, burrs hanging off, if there are any, can cut you. They can put a little cut in your finger or put a piece of metal in your finger. So just not a big deal, but just be cognizant of this fact. Thank you for watching and have a great day.